All right, Monday evening, we're here ready to roll. And what a better topic for this evening's stream than an around the table talk transfer portal edition. And as you can see, we're going to have a loaded stream. Guys, go ahead, right down the line, introduce yourselves, though I don't think you need any introduction. It's just kind of how we do it. And we got another person who wants to be introduced. Jason, when it gets down to you, I expect two introductions. We'll start with PG,
Got
then
it.
Chris, then Jason.
Yeah, y'all can find me. You guys know who I am. I've been here enough times. The PG Show. You can find me on YouTube, Apple, Google, or Spotify.
Hey, Chris Griffin, Chris with a
Hey.
K at the Horns Down Podcast. Hey, you guys already know where I'm at. Chris with a K on Twitter, all of that. You know what I'm saying, straight up.
Yep. Jason Watkins, Hall of Fame college football, along with Norm here today, Norman. So, yeah, you can find me at CFB-pod right here on YouTube. Get back, Norman.
Yeah, and is PG still king of Yukon? Yeah, he is.
Actually, no, King of
No?
Mustang now.
Oh, expanding your territory. I see.
I am.
I like it. I like it. Well, guys, look, we can talk about what we've seen over the weekend, right? But I think every single one of us has probably talked an awful lot about what we saw this weekend. There's something else that is sweeping college football right now that we have got to address. That's the transfer portal. It has been absolute pandemonium. And PG, you and I were texting earlier. This is just the beginning. I mean, over your next 3 to 4 days, there's going to be a lot of really big names hit the portal. We need to talk about some names. I guess I'm going to go around right now and ask everybody who they are most surprised has hit the portal thus far. PG, we'll start with you.
Gosh damn it, Dalen Smothers. That's the one that got me. I saw that one and I said, oh.
Yeah, that one was a little surprising. Jason, what about you?
Not overly surprised about any of them. Certainly not Dalen Smothers, but not overly surprised really about any of them. You can kind of see some of the writing on the wall when it came to Oklahoma. I would say that some of the moves from around the country were a little surprising. Ohio State's quarterback, I didn't really see that coming. You know, they lose one game on the season and he's out. So that kind of signals something going on in Buckeye land. So that would probably be the one that got to me a little bit.
That's the one that I woke up this morning to the news of that, and I did not have that on my bingo card.
Me neither.
Did anybody have Ohio State just being purged on their bingo card?
They've lost a lot.
A lot.
It's one of those places where Ohio State, they recruit a ton of talent. So it's like McCord is the one so far that's really stood out to me. Coop,
Yeah.
Same question to you, man. We're sitting here, transfer portal, absolutely taking the nation by storm. Is there a name that has hit the portal that kind of took you by surprise?
I mean, if you look, the Dalen Smothers is one that, and I think that I kind of mentioned it, on Discord, is if you look at the beginning of the season with him having is he leaving? Is he not leaving? Is he going home? And then, just kind of like they've kind of forced him in there at times. You just kind of felt like somebody was going. That's never good. I'm happy to see guys like Marcus Hicks already have their place because, there's over 500 kids in here, and I promise you half of them are going to have nowhere to go.
Yeah, that's a big problem coming out of the transfer portal, even from last cycle. How many people are still waiting in the transfer portal? Think of the transfer portal like your community pool, right? You go to the community pool thinking it's going to be a great time. You get there and you realize, I don't really like being here all that much. So you're there for a little bit of time. And as the day goes on, the numbers start to wade. Now imagine you're one of the last people there and you got locked in the community pool. You're not having a good time. And that's the current reality of the transfer portal, where there are people in the transfer portal in constant limbo, and it affects recruiting. Chris, same question to you.
I'll go ahead. I got a couple of people that I knock off the list. First off, let's talk about the bums. First off, we have to talk about Ty Buckner. Ty Buckner is going to be a lacrosse superstar. Okay. Second off, we got to talk about Blake Shapen. We got to talk about Blake Shapen. Where did that come from? That's like the under the portal news right now. He's transferring from Baylor. Where are you going? Sam Houston State, I see you. Anyways, let's get back to it. What's really alarming, what really, really kind of sets you off is the fact that what is going on up there at Ohio State? Not Kyle McCord, okay? Kyle McCord is kind of an obvious thing because either they believe in Devin Brown or Cam Ward's coming, right? What you have to pay attention to is the amount of defensive players and the caliber of those players, at least coming out of high school, that are now transferring. Like I said, I like Jim Knowles. I think Jim Knowles is a really good defensive coordinator. But I'm one that will ask the question: is that defense too complicated for some of these players to learn? People can talk about OSU got it, but OSU got it like 4 or 5 years into it, right? I don't know the numbers or how many years it took them, but it took them a while to actually perfect that defense. One thing I would definitely say, one name that I'm looking for to see if he gets in the portal, and I really don't know what he did this year. Ty, PG, Jason, Coop, tell me. Jack Sawyer. Where the hell is Jack Sawyer? He's supposed to be the guy that was like the next Nick Bosa, all the rest of that. So I think it's very alarming what's happening up there at the shoe right now. I like Ryan Day. They're going to be fine, but at the same time, they are losing a lot of talent. They are going to have to replace. So I think right now that's kind of my biggest surprise, most alarming to me. Dalen Smothers will obviously be the second, but I think it's Ohio State right now. You got to look at them.
Yeah, listen, I don't disagree. And Jack Sawyer is interesting because J2 Tuimalau, the guy who runs across from him, his draft stock has gone pretty high, I think. His ability, if I'm not mistaken, the last time I was watching him, and like I said the other day, I need to go back and rewatch more Ohio State, but a few games I've tuned in and really just eyed in on him. That kid's going to be really good. Plays the run real well, is disruptive. But Jack Sawyer, Chris, to your point, I mean, that guy was supposed to be like the next big dude at the edge in college football, and he's probably still putting up numbers, but probably not what we expected. That's interesting. Yeah. Now, I'm going to tell you some quarterbacks right now that kind of a little bit surprising to me. Are we surprised about DJU hitting the portal? Because that's one that I wouldn't be super surprised about, right? But how surprised were you all about Dillon Gabriel? There's a lot of OU fans on this panel, and me not being an OU fan.
I'll take this one first.
By all means.
If you are surprised by this, you have not been paying attention. Essentially that's it. It has nothing to do. Dillon Gabriel has reached the pinnacle of what he can do. And for what OU wants to accomplish, it's time to start getting in, Jackson Arnold. You get over there, you give him everything that you can, all the snaps for this extended practice time. You go through the offseason, and there's not a split locker room or anything like that when it comes to the quarterback position. It's go time. You hang your hat across going to the SEC and Jackson Arnold. And you don't want one more year going in between what he was, coming out of high school and to – for the recruiting clout. So no, now is it surprising that Dillon's not going to the NFL? Not really. Look at the money. If he goes as a, unrestricted free agent or a 6th or 7th round pick, what's the guy making $500,000, $600,000, $750,000 at most? Whereas with his lineup and everything that he can do on NIL, especially if he ends up at a USC or somewhere with a Polynesian culture or somewhere like an Ohio State or something like that, he's going to be able to turn some profit pretty quickly.
See, I think my surprise wasn't necessarily that he hit the portal. I just thought that he'd play the bowl game and then hit the portal. I think it was the timing of it for me was a bit surprising, but I don't think him hitting the portal was inherently surprising. Jance, Brinsky, how y'all doing today?
I'm feeling all right, man. I'm feeling all right. I can't say that about other people, but I'm feeling all right.
How's your Bills?
We're doing all right, man. We gonna go 11-6. We make it to Super Bowl, Chris.
That's fine.
Don't worry about us. We fine. Josh Allen back.
Well, I'm feeling good, feeling great. Of course, it's feeling like a Bama day. It just my commander's trash as usual, but that's beside the point. But roll Tide.
Hey, I'll take it. Roll Tide. We have Sooner Cowboys in here saying Stewart to OU. Guys, I'm going to talk about a name that didn't catch me by surprise, but it was one of those where even if you are someone like PG, the man himself who's been calling it, to see it happen, you had to almost rock back in your seat. And I think I've probably given it away. Walter Nolan. I mean, a player of that caliber hitting the transfer portal when E-Rob left, first and foremost, I think probably tells the story of how important E-Rob was in some of these recruitments. I don't think we're going to see the exodus so many people thought, but that's a massive name hitting the market. Guys, what are we thinking about Walter Nolan? Do we think we could see some more names from A&M? And I'll just go straight down the line, starting with PG, and as the order the cameras are in.
Yeah, so Walter Nolan's had one foot out the door for a while now, and it was even almost out the door last year. So, I felt like this was to be expected that it was going to happen this year, especially after Jimbo got fired. I think the writing was on the wall. But at this point, I look at Walter Nolan and go, it's probably UGA or Bama. I know Tennessee's probably going to get in the mix because they were, I think, in the final three for Walter Nolan when he came out of high school. Bama wasn't, but I mean, let's be honest. Walter Nolan's got one solid year that he needs before he can go to the NFL draft. So he needs to get that solid year in. And that's going to be with a Kirby Smart or a Nick Saban. He'll have a chance to win a championship and make himself look really good. But as far as any other portal transactions from the defensive line, I think we're really looking at David Hicks if you're an OU fan. And I mean, if you're an OU fan, I don't really think the staff is too interested in anybody outside of that when it comes to Overton or maybe even a Dindy, just because Dindy wants to play the edge and they want him to play interior, and Overton, that's just not going to happen at this point. So regardless, I think the prize from A&M is David Hicks. That's the one that the country is watching and everybody wants to go out there and grab.
Yeah, and before I pass this to you, Jason, Cody, the professor in here, thank you for the $4.99, man. He says, don't forget to check out High Top Sports Recruiting, brand new channel, film breakdowns on 2024 class, and big commitments are coming up, like Jordan Seaton. Cody, I'm going to be definitely tuned in for that one. That's going to be huge. Guys, if you're not aware, Cody works with High Top Sports, unbelievable YouTube channel. During the season, you could have caught me there every single Saturday morning on High Top Game Day. We had an absolute blast. Be sure to go check them out over there. They do great stuff. You're not going to be disappointed. Jason, pick it up where you left off, man.
Yeah, I was gonna bring up Hicks as well. Obviously, you had Todd Bates out there hanging out with his pops at Katie Pate's house today. So that's definitely promising look. You know, I wouldn't get too excited about it, but I guess the other one that the possibility would be a flip with McKinley. Although I feel like McKinley may be going to Texas. I know that when it came to the recruiting stuff, it seemed like his mom was pro OU all the way. He ended up wanting to go to A&M, but I think that with this whole deal with E-Rob, there's no telling who's going to be out there. You know what I mean? I think when it comes to that D-line group, I don't think they're all going to be following into Syracuse, but I don't think they all end up staying either.
Yeah, tough. Syracuse is a place where I'd love it to be good. I have family out there in New York, not anywhere close to Syracuse, but in upstate New York nonetheless, and I'd love it if upstate New York took football a bit more serious. I'm sure Jance would as well.
Never.
I know. I know, man. I know. It hurts my soul. Chris, talk to me, man. Do you think we're going to see some exodus from A&M? What was your thoughts when Nolan hit the portal? Whole 9 yards.
I wasn't surprised. It was bound to happen with somebody. Him, yeah. I think it was kind of the last straw. Now to see some of the things that you're seeing with Evan Stewart coming out, that they had a couple of safeties that said some things. So they're leaking some stuff about the whole NIL like picture down there. I think is very interesting. You know, one thing on my way home, Ty, I was talking to my uncle about it. I said, hey man, I said, now I don't know what's actually going on down there. I'm not there for the day-to-day operations of their NIL. They were the first to really usher in this new era of college football, this next chapter, right? With the whole NIL stuff. But you see a lot of other people a lot of other universities, Texas, OU, Bama, so on and so forth, have these collectives where these players they're not having to second guess about this money. Because you've heard it through the cracks with Jordan Addison at USC, different things about Caleb Williams and all the rest of that stuff about what's really going on. So, one thing that you can say about A&M, and I think it's true, is that, before the portal opened up, I think one thing was for certain, that a lot of players, you were going to test how loyal they were to that school. Were they loyal to the school because they want to be at Texas A&M, or were they loyal because they were loyal to the money that they were receiving? Now it's starting to come out that they ain't got nothing but a slice of bread, as Evan Stewart said. So, of course, I think you're going to see a lot of these kids jump into the portal and try to figure it out. And plus, I think that Elko is going to process some of these kids out simply because I think that he's going to want to establish some type of culture there that is not established on necessarily prima donnas or whatnot. They already try to process out the Denver Harrises of the world and kids like that, but there's still those guys with the superstar mentality there on that roster. And I think Elko is going to hit the portal hard. I think he's going to do that very hard and make this a tough, hard-nosed team this first year until he can actually kind of establish himself back there at Texas A&M. So I definitely see not necessarily a mass exodus, but I see some key players on both sides of the ball leaving.
So here's one thing I do want to say, because in fairness, everybody, whenever Evan Stewart tweeted that out, thought that it was in reference to people not getting paid. He has since kind of quote tweeted that, and he quote tweeted Casey Smith, who said, "Am I crazy to think Evan Stewart meant I went to A&M because I actually wanted to play football there, not because I was promised a bunch of money to go there?" And everybody is tweeting it to mean something entirely different. Evan Stewart quote tweeted that and said, "You, Casey, are amazing at your profession." And he's said that about multiple people who've commented that same theory. He's liked it and said this right here. So I don't know what's going on at A&M right now, because whenever there was a linebacker they had from Pilot Point, and I forget his name, he left and dropped a reference about like, oh, they're not paying the NIL like they said they were. And now we have Evan Stewart, who puts out this cryptic message and now seems to be saying, oh, I wasn't meaning that the NIL was messed up. I meant that I wasn't worried about. Who knows what's actually going on there? I do know this, though. It's really interesting. Really interesting, gents. I know that as a Bama fan, you've probably had your eye on Evan Stewart, wondering if he'll hit the transfer portal. What's your thoughts on the situation at A&M? What's your thoughts with Walter Nolan?
I don't know what's going on in the situation with A&M. I mean, like I said, you just said took the words out of my mouth. I mean, it's really bad over there for what we've heard. Mike Elko, he's got a lot of work to do. Now, of course, they still got a lot of talent. Like I said, I don't think it's going to be max exodus like everyone said, but there's a lot of internal issues going on with that program. Some things that I keep hearing that it's going to be a lot of work. It's going to be a lot of work. It's not really, between the athletic directors, some of the boosters that are there, just some of the internal issues with the program is something that has to be fixed. And we'll see what happens. But Walter Nolan, man, it's a hell of a prospect. I've been wanting that kid since I've been wanting that kid for about a couple of years now. So hopefully we get a good opportunity to get him. We tried very, very hard, man, to get him. And again, it looked like it was going to be between Tennessee, A&M. Maybe Texas was in the mix. He obviously decided to go to A&M. But he's a big time prospect. This is the Bear Alexander of the 24 class, and Bear Alexander, of course, went to USC. Got a lot of benefits from going there. So we'll see what Walter Nolan does. Hopefully he can come to Alabama. Hopefully we can get Evan Stewart. Hopefully we get to see his name in the portal, because if he comes to Alabama, I mean, we don't have a number one receiver. I mean, maybe Bond, but Bond is kind of more of a slot or kind of more of an X. So I think that Evan Stewart could, if he does come here, could fight and potentially be that number one guy, could play the Z. And it would be great. It'd be great, for him to have him here. But A&M's, they got a lot of issues. I am interested to see what players do into the portal. Again, you look at that vaunted 22 class, it just seems that historic class just continues to just not disappoint in a way, but kind of more disappoint, in a matter that they're just all starting to kind of leave now because of what Jimbo Fisher did. And I think what's kind of even more crazy, I think we're all starting to kind of forget about this, with the fact that Jimbo Fisher went after the stars, the fact that leaked out, and it came out and said that, well, he didn't look, he didn't try to evaluate the player in the background. He just said, this is a star and I'm going after it. So it's a lot of weird crap which is going on post Jimbo Fisher. But hey, does this sound pretty similar to what happened after he left FSU? Kind of sounds like the exact same situation to me.
Yeah, going to be super interesting. We have the Heisman finalist announced. I do want to hit this comment right here. Cody asks, how are coaches talking to players already when the portal wasn't open, Ty? I know a pretty prominent quarterback and a new coach were talking, and I'm assuming you mean Mississippi. So ideally, a coach wouldn't be talking to a player because it is so easy to get around tampering rules in college football. Like it is the easiest thing in the world. Just have someone else do it, right? Like it's that simple. If I am a player and I reach out to another player, unless they can prove I did so at the behest of my head coach, and Chris, you can talk about this. Proving intent can be a real tough thing, especially when you're talking about like, oh, well, in that sort of situation, if a coach is just flat out talking to players, that's impressive. That's bold. It's bold when it's so easy. I haven't heard anything like that, Cody, but it doesn't surprise me. I mean, we just look at the way some of the things have happened in college football. It's peak silliness sometimes.
You just have end-to-end encryption. So it's not that hard.
That's wild. That's why if they did that, that's wild. Brinsky and then Coop, talk to me about A&M, and then we're going to dive into these Heisman finalists. Talk about if they got it right, and then we're going to go right back into the portal.
You said, you was talking about. Oh, okay, you got me confused when you said Texas A&M. Did they get it right? But man, like I said, man, it's the most wonderful time of the year, man. This is it's just getting started, and it's just Monday, man. I just can't wait. I know Evan Stewart's gonna hit that portal. It's either gonna be tonight or tomorrow. I know you thinking that he's not, but he's going to, man. I'm telling you, man.
Sound like it.
Oh man, I'm telling you, if he doesn't hit the portal by tonight or tomorrow, then I may say something. But he's joining Walter Nolan, man. Those guys are not sitting there. Those are my two biggest targets I want at Alabama. And I know Jen said something about him playing Z. I feel like he's number one material. He's going to play that X. But I truly believe they're going to keep that for Isaiah Bond. But either one, I don't care. It doesn't matter. It's a win-win in that situation. And then you can put Walter Nolan down there with James Smith and all those boys, man, and Jaheim Otis. Oh, my God. This interchangeable, man. I'm just loving everything. Then you got Keon Keeley. You don't even have none of those guys from the 2022 class, the 2023 class playing. Most of them sitting down. Only Caleb Downs and KP, Caden Proctor, been playing. So you add these guys in there with guys that are about to be sophomores next year. It's gonna be fun, man. It's gonna be beautiful.
There's a lot of moving parts still to go. Bama looking at wide receiver Z. Evan Stewart would be great there. I'm also super excited about Jalen Hale's development. He's shown me some flashes this year where I'm so excited for him.
And Kendrick Law
as well. Can't forget about him. Talk to me about Texas A&M in this transfer portal, because a lot of people around college football thought when Jimbo left, there was going to be a mass exodus, and we just haven't seen it. What are you thinking?
So you're telling me that a bunch of people went down to A&M because they started prepping up the NIL thing. All of a sudden, they start crushing records because people are flocking down there of higher 4-star, 5-star talent. They do nothing with them. There's a silent culture issue. Nobody can seem to get on the right page. And then now that it's open season, we're not sure what's going on. Guys, I think that there is a large amount of coaching staffs across the country who are looking at the transfer portal this season completely different than the last season or the previous one. And why is that? It's because you have to ask that straight up question of, Are you here to play football, or do you want to be big man on campus with big NIL purse? Because I promise you that Brent Venables goes to somebody this year and it says, hey, listen, let's just go Walter Nolan. Nolan says, I know that back then you guys offered me $750K. Has it gone up at all? And, Brent Venables just looks at him and looks at Bates and says, no, if you want to come here to play football and win a championship, let's go. And then all of a sudden that NIL conversation is not the first conversation that they're having, because there's special treatment going on these things. And not that this is breaking news, but following the NCAA's rules, because the NCAA is a very, very fit institution. I feel like the further we get down the line, nobody gives a damn about the NCAA rules, because there are loopholes. And now, instead of just hiding your loopholes, you flash a little what's up between you and the coach at Katy Pato, who might just be the father of somebody very, very, very important that you're trying to trigger. Oh, yeah, we went down to check out Dejan Petaway. Yes, you did. But you didn't make the trip just for that. Like, these things are happening all over the place. The conversations that have been going on at this point have been going on for weeks. I would say stretch it back to before the season. A lot of situations, because it's, hey, if you go to this place and you don't make it on the field, or there's something shifty with the NIL money, you got my number. Give me a buzz. And I promise you, when that call's coming through and that NIL conversation comes up, it's happening completely different now versus what it was 2 years ago or even last year. So I think A&M, anybody who wants to bounce out of that, every single coaching staff has got a question. It's like, well, why did you initially choose A&M? Because if you said, well, I like the direction of the program, bullshit. I don't, kid-friendly, adult-friendly. Jesus, if you're watching, I'm sorry. I'm going to take it on this one. There's not one coach who says, oh, you went to A&M because you love the Colts and the Yell Leaders and just the pro. No, you went there because you got a check.
What about
nobody goes to A&M?
Because
I'm calling every single one of them.
Because they had Elijah Robinson and Nick Williams out there who have been good developers at that position.
There's good developers all over the country.
Yeah, but I mean,
I'm sorry. The NFL is not riddled with A&M defensive linemen. Every single team does not have an A&M defensive lineman, and it's time to just call it what it is. Because Ohio State is putting out Bosa brothers and everything like that. They got the corner on the market. If you're a wide receiver, you go to Ohio State. Anything else, there's a group of people all over the country. And so those conversations do have to happen, because there's no way that you can say like 8 5-star dudes decided to go to A&M because they loved the university and what was going on there. And outside of the 2020 season, when's the last time? Name me off the winning records from A&M. Because I know everybody's mind just went back to Johnny Manziel and like what since then?
What were they? 8 and 5.
So
it's the only thing I'm going to say though is, I mean, look, I get what you're saying and everything, but there's not some guys out there that you wouldn't want to go pick up. You know what I mean? Now, I agree with what you're saying when it comes to you get to somewhere like Oklahoma. There's not going to be a lot of talk about NIL stuff. I think you're probably going to end up seeing, BV's going to be like, you can earn some NIL money. You want to come in here and you want to get developed. Sure. But you better be coming, and this next stop, you got your bag of cash, or maybe you did. According to some of those guys, maybe you didn't. But, you went for your bag of cash and everything else. Now you better be going for development for the NFL. That's the next real bag of cash that you're going to get. And that's the way that these guys should be looking at it. Otherwise, just stay there.
Hey, I'll say this. Who said it? Bishop? Yeah. Okay, let's see here. Thunder. I can change him. I can fix that crazy chick.
That's funny. That was funny.
Out of her damn mind, but I can change her. He's a bad boy, but I can show him the lights. Bull.
That's funny, man. That's a great comment. I wanted to hit this right here. Anthony, longtime viewer, big time supporter of the channel, big time Miami fan. Glad you're here. He says, Ty, per sources, according to Bleacher Report and 24/7 Sports, the AD at Miami is adamant for Miami to go to the SEC and leaving the conference. Listen, I wouldn't be shocked if there's more conference realignment. I think we all expect that, right? And the SEC is going to be inclined to get brands that they think could be valuable. And it wouldn't shock me for Miami to be one of those brands, especially if they could somehow complete the Florida trio. I think that'd be fantastic for the SEC. But who knows? Coop, I do want to start with you here, though, right? Go in reverse order. We've talked some transfer portal. We're going to dive back into that public pool I just described, but let's get out of the public pool real fast, dry off, and let's talk about the Heisman. Heisman has been announced. The guys who will be going to New York: Jaden Daniels, Michael Penix Jr., Bo Nix, Marvin Harrison Jr. Thoughts on this? I don't think it's super surprising, but I want to hear from y'all.
I mean, listen, I saw somebody, and I think I shared it in one of our group chats, is like, Bo Nix is never going to cut the college football season before it absolutely has to end. Like, this dude, he will go to the punters convention if it's the last thing on the college football slate, because he's got a clipboard in his future. These guys, this is great. I mean, I love seeing Marvin Harrison Jr. because, dude is amazing. And he has been that guy for 2 years now. Penix Jr., Washington and Penix Jr., I mean, they answered every single question that was posed in front of them. Rewind to week 6, and if somebody was said, I bet Washington still goes undefeated, none of us would have sat on here and been like, yeah, I think so too. So for them to finish that game, I mean, respect to you, sir. And Jaden Daniels just been down south making plays. And, they lost to Florida State that first week, but he just continues to do all these big things. So this is a great, this is a great panel. You got like 37 different universities, represented here between Bo Nix and the other 3 guys. So there's a lot of opportunity. A lot of people are going to be watching this thing. This is probably, there's going to be some kind of boycott and some kind of frustrated people, but you know what? This is a good one. And Caleb Williams, where's Caleb Williams? Is it unpassed? No, it's not up there. Okay. Well, we make it another year. Ohio State can celebrate for one more year that there's not a back-to-back win. So this is good stuff. And you know what? The only reason why you stick around the public pool, Ty, is if Wendy Peppercorn is the lifeguard. Outside of that, you got to get out.
Well, that wouldn't be a bad public pool, right? Like, that would be the exception of public pools. If you show me where Wendy Peppercorn is, that was well played. That was good.
A Sandlot reference is always beautiful.
Always. I hit high top yesterday, Jason. I don't know if you saw it. He was trolling FSU. He was in his robe in the hotel with his drink, and he hit a roll tide. And so I commented, and he said, "Love you." So I hit the Sandlot. What's the kid's name? I just forgot his name. Where he does the blowing the kiss away. The big freckled kid. Is it Manny? Squint? Oh, no, not Squint.
Yes. No, the fat one. I'm sorry, but
where he blows the kiss right before he dives off, so Wendy Peppercorn can save his life.
Smalls?
Yeah.
No. He talking about.
We're gonna group watch the Sandlot. You know what? And one of these times we're just gonna group watch the Sandlot, and we'll get copyright strikes. It'll be okay. It'll be okay. We got news. Jalen Catalon,
Hamilton Porter,
Porter.
There it is.
Yep.
Ham. Big ham.
There you go.
Yeah.
Thank you, IMDb.
Thank you, IMDb. My man, Coop coming in clutch. Brinsky, I'm going to pass it to you now. Talk to me about the Heisman selection.
Oh, can I say one thing before I get to that?
Because
I wanted to say this when I came in here, because this is the reason why I was late. They just dropped the GTA 6 trailer.
I know.
And it is beautiful. I just had to get that out.
What's the price? Because they keep talking about how they're going to charge per month.
You're going to hate it because it says it's going to drop in 2025.
Whatever.
Exactly.
That might be when NCAA drops too. So
they said next summer for that.
Yeah, they said you never know postponement.
Yeah, you never know. But for the Heisman, man, I low key wanted to see Jalen up there only because, man, of course I'm an Alabama fan, a little biased. Of course he's not gonna win, but I just wanted his story to get out there a little bit more, man. It just the way he was just doubted. Even I had a little doubt on him, and just to see where he's at right now is just a beautiful story. But we already know this is Jaden Daniels Heisman It is not even no question. I don't even know why we're having a ceremony. The ceremony should just be 5 minutes, or we should talk about the players for a little bit and just go ahead and get this man his Heisman, because we just basically wasting our time. And the order I think is going to be is pretty much Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, and they got Michael Penix and Marvin Harrison Jr. They're going to probably have Michael Penix and then Marvin Harrison Jr. for the most part in that order. But he's a runaway favorite. I would be very, very shocked if Bo Nix is anywhere near him. He's a runaway favorite. And the best thing, I hate LSU, but to see LSU put a billboard sign in Las Vegas to troll Michael Penix and Bo Nix, like, that was beautiful, man. I'm glad they did some mess like that. That's my level of pettiness. So, Jaden Daniels, early congratulations, my brother.
And
Mr.
what would college football be absent some pettiness, right? That's what makes it so great. Jance, any surprise from you in the Heisman announcement?
No, it's not surprising. I'm not gonna lie to you, because I'm a big fan of defensive linemen. I would love to see Devondre Sweat go to New York. I think he's actually earned the right. I think he's been the most valuable player, arguably, on that Texas team. So I thought it would have been cool to see him there, but it is what it is. You don't see defensive players really go to New York that often. But no, they got the order right. Marvin Harrison Jr. has been one of the most valuable players in the country. Bo Nix has been spectacular. He's put up great statistics. Michael Penix Jr. has had the more impactful Heisman-worthy moments, but Jaden Daniels, you can't ignore what he's done. I mean, he's literally done. I mean, he's on pace to putting up even better numbers than Joe Burrow if he would have got inside the college football playoff. Again, 3,700 yards, 1,100 rushing yards, on pace to. I mean, the dude is. I mean, he might throw for 4K and have over 1,200 by the end of this. I mean, it's insane. So, you can't ignore it. He's doing something that no other quarterback in history besides Kyler Murray has done, and even he's about to surpass that. You got to give him the Heisman.
Yeah, hard to disagree. Chris, I saw you look like you wanted to hop out of your frame and go attack Jance when he said,
what are you talking? What I do?
Sweat.
I'm letting him speak. I'm letting him spew this bull crap, but that's okay. Okay. Let Jance have his time.
What I said I was wrong.
Jance, I'm not going there with you, Jance. You know what you're doing, Jance. Like it's a bait and switch. This is not
I'm not
anything. This is not anything new to me, Jance. I know what you're doing. Come on. Come on, man. Let me roll that tape for you in the Red River rivalry game. Let me roll that tape for you to show you all those arm tackles and him basically saying, "I can't do it today." They moving too fast.
Got out tough.
Yeah. Y'all did have a great game plan in terms of you. That is an example of using tempo with purpose, having a purposed reason for using your tempo. Listen, tempo isn't the enemy. How you use tempo is important, though. But Chris, do you think any surprises amongst the Heisman picks?
Oh no, man, no, not any surprise. I mean, it's exactly who you thought it was going to be. So, I would say, Jaden Daniels. I mean, there's no way that he doesn't leave there with it. If he does, then we riot, right? So, I mean, he's put up better numbers than Joe Burrow this year, and I mean, it's kind of hard to go against that.
Yeah, tough to argue that. Jason, what you thinking, man?
It's Jaden Daniels. It was Jaden Daniels before the freaking Pac-12 championship. It was Jaden Daniels. When you got a freaking 1,000 rushing yards already going into it, you're already equal with the rest of the guys in passing. You've got freaking 50 freaking touchdowns. I don't want to hear anybody else.
Look at the completions. He has more. I mean, he has less completions than Bo Nix. I mean, I don't know. Like Bo Nix has like 336 passing attempts, and Jaden Daniels has 220. And he's still beat on barely. It's just ridiculous. It's ridiculous.
Yeah, no doubt. It's not close.
Jaden Daniels, man, that his season and Chris. Whenever I said this earlier, whenever you hopped on, Chris and I, this is the first person I ever streamed with. For those not aware, was Chris. This was the first person here for the kicking off of the live streams. He's been a part of it since the inception. He has heard me talk about Jaden Daniels for years now, when this young man was at Arizona State as a true freshman, I watched him outduel Justin Herbert, like go toe-to-toe with Justin Herbert. And Justin had a good game, but Jaden Daniels looked like every bit as good of a quarterback as Herbert as a true freshman. And that's when I knew if you get him out of this chaos that is Arizona State, he will flourish. He's been undeniable this year, and that's all you can ask for. PG, bring it home, man. Bring the Heisman talk home. Any surprises here?
No surprises, and I don't think I could disagree with anybody that Jaden Daniels should be the winner. I mean, I want to make a case for Marvin Harrison, but I mean, you can't make a case. It's not close.
Yeah. Listen, someone said it's kind of gotten to a quarterback award, and it has. It has.
Like
I
the
just
NFL
think,
the MVP award. It is
very
what it
true.
is.
It has.
I
But I
also
mean,
don't think that it's wrong this year, right? Like, I
I was
also
going to say, if there's nobody better in the country, though. I mean, you can call it a quarterback award if you want to, but who's better? You know what I mean?
Yeah, but there's been years though where
Yeah.
I mean, I could look at other members on teams that are
Absolutely.
better on the defense. I mean, shoot, like
No doubt.
I guarantee you, if Travis Hunter catches 1,200, 1,500 yards next season and has like, I don't know, let's throw something crazy out there, 5, 6 interceptions.
You said who?
Let's say do what Billy Bowman did and have 3
Travis Hunter.
pick sixes. Can Travis Hunter win it? No, he's not going to win it.
Oh, yes, he could. If
He will not win it over a
could.
quarterback.
bullshit. If he plays like that, if he plays a lot on both sides of the
On
ball,
both sides.
and they're a winning team, if they just have a winning record, he could
Over a
absolutely.
quarterback that throws for 4,000 yards and runs for
It
500.
doesn't matter. It doesn't matter.
It doesn't matter if you play
if he gets
120
6
freaking
picks,
plays a game plus, and
exactly
you get
6 picks,
1,000
1,000 receiving
yards.
yards.
Yeah.
That's never been done before in history in college football. That's never been done before, ever.
Nope.
And that probably will never, ever be replicated.
I just have a hard time believing that they'd give him the award.
I can
that's-
understand being that jaded, but I still think he could get it.
Hey,
I understand
somehow-
being that jaded.
Somehow the Jim Thorpe people would still jack that up pretty bad though. So you better get the Heisman.
Yeah. That and the Bud Kiss Award, man. There was some. How did Stutz and Edgerrin Cooper?
Stutz got
I
hurt.
apologize.
That's why.
But his numbers, man, they were
Yeah,
fantastic.
they
And you don't even
did.
have to go by numbers. Look at the film. He means so much to that defense. And then Cooper at A&M. That young man has played his heart out. And him not going was a farce. Then you look at Coop, to your point, the Thorpe. Bowman's numbers were insane. I mean, it's just a little bit surprising and disappointing on some of the people who were not picked for these awards, but there was a lot of talented players this year. What's the word on Bowman? Do y'all expect him to come back?
Yes.
Man, he's going to be
I'll
so
say
good.
yes. That's what I'm praying for.
good.
Him and yeah.
I expect him and Stutz to come back.
That'd be great.
He is.
I would have figured that
He is
Billy
doing
Bowman
it.
would be talking conversation.
Yeah. He is having himself a live conversation with. I think that he's with
It's
Gabe
over
and
his
Teddy and a
fired
couple
shot.
guys on the coach's show tonight. So maybe we hear something from that. Maybe it's after the bowl game, but yeah, I mean, dude balled out this year. And but hey, when you're voting on stuff this year, intelligence takes a back seat or just stays at home altogether.
And Danny Stutzman's already dropped very subtle hints. So
I think that with their draft grades, you kind of have to come back, because they were both late round, 5th
Yeah,
at the
Danny-
earliest is something. I mean, if you're
Really?
Billy and you come back and have anything close to the kind of season that you had this year, and then same with Stutzman, if he stays healthy, he's going to be one of the leaders in the country in tackles. So I would think that, and playing in the SEC, it's definitely going to boost you up there. I don't see a reason why they would leave now.
I can see a world where Stutz works himself into mid first next year if he has a similar or better season in the SEC, and then Bowman works himself into day 2.
Bowman's got a lot of ability. What were you saying, Jance?
Jens
No, I was just
was,
saying. I mean, I remember in the past. Yeah, I remember in the past, man, a lot of Oklahoma fans got on me for saying that Billy Bowman was going to be a solid player for y'all, and y'all was like, no. I'm like, okay, watch what happens. Now all of a sudden he's the center of talk. Everybody wants him back. You know, it is what it is.
6 interceptions and 3 pick sixes.
Yeah,
Everybody
3 pick
wants him
sixes
back.
will do that.
Hey, now,
He's
Ty,
a beast, man.
you had an earlier point that you hit on that I thought was very interesting. You were talking about the Butkus, Jim Thorpe Award. Basically, you're talking about people getting robbed. I think that it's in poor taste if we don't talk about it, man. A lot of craziness happened this weekend.
We
You
don't
know
need to
what I'm saying?
fight.
It's
We
a
don't need to fight.
travesty. It's a travesty. All right.
Chris just
I'm
wants to
looking at
argue.
you, Ty.
Chris,
I'm looking at
Chris,
you, Ty.
you
Oh, we
need
can,
it.
Do you want to
Oh,
catch
oh,
the
we-
L
we
2
talk
times
about
in a row?
Please,
Oh,
let's talk about this.
I
will
Please,
jump
let's talk
into this.
about this.
I'm about to say we can talk about it. We
Ty,
can talk
Ty,
about
I
it.
just sent you something
talk
I'd
about
like you to show America.
Let's talk about it. Let's talk about it.
I have it in my email. It
I'm
is
on-
good.
I'm on-
That's good. That is good. I grant you that. That's funny.
Share it. Show the world,
I'm
Ty.
not going to go through that whole process of
Show the
downloading
world,
it
Ty.
and then putting the file up here. What he sent me was a drafted, basically, court document
Oh,
about
good
FSU
Lord.
taking the committee to court.
Oh, they will lose.
We need
That's
the records.
my deal.
We
They will
just
lose.
want the records. We want the
Stupidest
emails.
court
We
thing
want the
ever.
documents. We want everything. We
The
want the
thing-
Texas memorabilia. We want the Alabama memorabilia. We want Greg Sankey's jockstrap that they have in their hands right now. We want it all. Ty, let's go and let's hash it out. Ty, come on, man.
Chris,
I'm on your
I
side,
have-
Ty.
I
Do
have
it. Do it.
talked
I'm on your
about-
side. I got you.
I have talked about this on so many shows. It is what it is. See, he bowed out. He was like, I can't do this. I can't do this. I'm out of here. I've talked about this on Kyle Henderson's show, Bleacher Report, my show, Jay's show. I'm talked out about this. I've said what I had to say. Go ahead.
At
Jay.
what point?
It's a simple thing. They're not one of the best 4 freaking teams in America.
Bullshit.
That's it. That's the only thing that you have to say. They're not one of the best 4 teams. Without Jordan Travis, they're not one of the best 4. Sorry.
PG, man. PG, because I know you have a problem with this, dog. Listen, man. This has been stated 9 years ago. If they wanted to change this, they should have changed it 9 years ago. This is not nothing new. It is stated a part of the criteria that if a player does go down, they will take that into consideration of judging who the 4 best teams are. It's written right there. This has been in place for 9 years. And by the way, for the people that are upset, well, why didn't we have an expansion? Oh, because the ACC conference, the Pac-12, and the Big 12, and not the Big 12, but somebody else. It might have been the Big 12. The Big
No, it's
10.
the
The Big
Pac-12,
10.
Big 10. and
Pac-12, Big 10, and the ACC voted no. So that's
I
their
thought it was
fault.
just the
Yes,
ACC and the Pac-12.
Exactly correct.
That's their fault because this we wouldn't even be having this conversation.
Well, we
if
should have
they
took away
just
the Pac-12's vote
voted-
anyways because they
yes.
don't exist anymore.
I mean, you're not
Exactly.
wrong there. You're not.
Exactly.
You're
But they all-
right
but
when
they
you're
all
right. When
vote
you're
no.
right. When you're right. You're right.
Yeah,
I'm gonna
You're
clean
right.
this up.
You're right.
I'm gonna clean this up as best I can. Because I'm targeting you, Jance. I'm just gonna say this right here. I'm not about to listen to anybody I'm not about to listen to a person who would give his left testicle for the Bills to win a Super Bowl. I don't care what you have to say.
What
all right?
does that have to do with this?
What
I'm
does that have
just
to do with
saying, man.
I
I'm
got
just saying.
Look,
Look,
nothing to do with
at
that.
the end of the day,
Nothing to
Jason,
do with
I
it, Chris.
disagree with you. Straight up, Jason. That's crazy that you're sitting there saying
Without
that FSU
Travis-
is not.
Without
basing
Travis,
it off
they're
of
not-
the
they're
best
as
team.
good as everybody else.
You cannot be serious right now.
You're
You really
telling me
can't
that
be
this
serious.
He's the
team
top
right
10
here,
without
the
Jordan
FSU
Travis in the
team,
lineup. You're
That's
insane.
crazy,
bro. You're
man.
insane.
That's
No way.
crazy.
Not one of the 4 best
You
teams.
don't even give them a chance. You don't
Okay,
even give
okay.
them a chance.
Answer
We
this.
did give them a chance. They won by a combined 19 points against the 5-6 Florida team without their backup quarterback in the lineup. They had their backup quarterback in the game, and they won by 9 points. If they were that superior, they would win that game more than 9 points. If they were that superior against Louisville, they would win that game by more than 10 points.
Are you
They
holding
were
up a
far more
potato?
superior.
What is
They
that?
won by a combined 19 points.
Are you holding up-
against the 5-6
hell
Florida
is that?
I think you're trying to say that's a nut.
This is Alabama's nutsack right here, and here's the committee.
Yeah. Thank
That's
you.
what they
Thank
did.
you.
That is what
If Jalen Miro would have broke his leg, guess
y'all
who
need
gets
to
in?
Well,
Georgia.
listen. Hey, I will say this before we move on. PG, you did try and put the argument yesterday that there's no way one player could make that difference, right? But you yourself have been championing the argument that Dillon Gabriel meant a lot when he went down last year. So
He
one
did.
player can make that much of a difference.
But-
And Jordan Travis was on a Heisman watch list. Now they don't have him.
Here's the thing, though. Yes, Dillon Gabriel meant a lot to Oklahoma, but Oklahoma did not have a comparable backup. They had a the FSU has a backup that can at least run the FSU offense, and you can't tell me that with
PG, they don't even have 250 yards passing. They don't even have 250 yards passing.
They couldn't move the ball against bad
PG,
Florida.
PG, can you answer this one thing? PG, can you answer this one thing? And then I know where your mindset is. Out of the top 10 of the college football playoff rankings, what do you think Vegas will have? What game you think Florida State would be favored in out of those 10 games? Out of all those games, out of those teams?
PG, you don't have to answer that.
Yes, you do.
PG, you don't have to answer that.
And that would tell me everything I need to know. Just answer this. Would they be?
Yeah, he didn't watch the game.
Out of the top four teams, would they have Florida State winning over any of those top 4 teams?
Texas. I think Florida State is good enough to keep them in that game.
You are nuts. You are nuts. You are nuts.
Okay, but this
Bro,
is my
there is no way that Vegas has them beating freaking Texas. No way. No how.
Problem.
Stop it.
You guys put you put Alabama and Texas in the playoffs, yet you said you picked the 4 most deserving or best teams, however they want to say it. Yet Georgia would be favored.
Georgia is going to beat the
Georgia didn't hit the criteria. Georgia didn't hit the criteria points. They did not hit the criteria points, man. They did not hit the criteria points.
All right. Let's rein it back in, ladies and gentlemen. Here's what I want to say. At the end of the day, you can agree, you can disagree, but you're still going to have to sit there and watch the tide roll. And hey,
Ty, can we agree that this playoff system's been flawed for 9 years? It's been flawed for 9 years, and that no one wanted to change it. Now all of a sudden, people are getting upset. But guess what? The ACC wasn't chanting for change. None of these conferences were chanting to change except for one conference, and that was Greg Sankey in the SEC. That was the only person that was pushed for SEC expansion, but they all said no. Now all of a sudden, when the flawed system finally showed itself, now everybody wants to rant. Too bad. Too damn bad.
The thing is, JD PicKell had a great answer to this whole problem. And make an emergency expansion to 6 teams this year. Figure it out, because
you should have done it in the 15. You should have done it in the 15 when you left TCU and Baylor.
Georgia's going to blow freaking FSU out, and then everybody can quit crying after that.
Let's add Liberty in there since they 13.
Yeah, Chris is just in here stirring the pot. Stirring the pot. All right, it is what it is. Modern day caveman with the $2. He says BV needs to get off moral high horse and pay players. BV is getting active in NIL. OU is active in NIL.
Let me just tell you this.
Yeah, OU's active in NIL.
Is very strong, especially on the offensive line. So
stirring with he's stirring the pot out here right now. He knows exactly what he's doing.
He's full of shit,
he knows exactly what he's doing. Look at him down there. Look at him down there. He knows exactly what he's doing. I gotta give it to you though. That damn email you sent me, that's funny.
I'm just saying, man.
That's funny.
We want it all. We just want it all. I represented my clients to the fullest.
Is that the Stolen Valor Eagles of Auburn? Is that who you're representing?
That's Florida State University and the University of Oklahoma. Trying to figure out why we're not in a New Year's Six Bowl.
Listen, you want to know where I think you have a stronger argument? It's the New Year's Six Bowl, right? Because like I told you the other day, Chris, when you look at this criteria, if anybody brings up 2014 Ohio State, let them also tell the story that Cardell Jones went in there and Ohio State looked like they still had offense. We just watched Louisville, who got guys. Devin Leary looked like the Devin Leary of old against Louisville. Kentucky beat them down.
Look at the Pittsburgh game.
Florida
blown them out the water.
State couldn't move the ball on them. And I know people are going to say, "Oh, but their defense is ranked here." Watch the games. Look at where they watch the games. That Louisville team that was a rough out. That was a rough out. But regardless, I do agree with you here, Chris. There's no way y'all should have been left out of a New Year's Six. There's no way for that.
It's a blessing.
I know you have a theory about that, and I think that's a great way for us to end it this evening. PG, floor is yours.
people are going to criticize me for this, but I think it's a blessing Oklahoma didn't make the Big 12 championship, and I think it's a blessing that we didn't make a New Year's Six bowl, and the staff doesn't have to be attending all of those practices, and here's why. What happened in 2014 when Oklahoma played a bowl game? Who'd they beat? Anybody know?
Yeah, they beat Alabama.
And what were Nick Saban's
2013?
Yeah, 2013. What were his remarks to that game?
Nobody
didn't care.
Yeah, nobody
He didn't care. So what did he do? He went out on the recruiting trail and he recruited like hell. The next year, turned around and won a national championship. What have BV and this entire staff done ever since the season ended? They've gone on the recruiting trail. They've hit all their top targets. They're in home. While everybody else is playing big games, they say, we're going to the SEC next year. We can't play around. And although Oklahoma might not win a national championship this year, I guarantee you we're going to see the effects of this offseason and what they're doing right now into next season. So it doesn't look pretty, but hey, it might just pay off.
It's kind of loose, but I mean, I get what you're saying. I think that, I mean, a lot of this stuff was kind of sold up anyways. I mean, I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, you know, there's a difference. There's a difference. OSU is happy to be 9-3 right now, and that's amazing for them. That's great. They can, hey, you don't win them all. That's the type of ball down there. 10-2 is terrible around OU.
You don't win conference championships, you mean?
Yeah. I mean, we want to. I mean, I'd rather be playing.
Like Texas.
Yeah, I would have loved to play Texas again. If Texas would have beat us, I would have been like, yeah, hands down. There's no reason why they avenged their soul loss or whatnot, you know. But I mean, it kind of is what it is. But would love to be playing right now.
I mean, what if Oklahoma walks out of this offseason with David Hicks, Chris McClellan, you get Trevor Etienne, and some of these big names out of the portal, and you walk into the SEC with a SEC roster? Because it's not just a possibility. It's, it's good, really, really.
I think those conversations are going to be had anyways. And I think the thing is what we talked about coming into the season was, hey, you can't go and win 8 or 9 ball games this year. You need to win 10 plus ball games to really show these recruits out here to say, hey, look, we're for real. Like we're for real about winning. We're for real about establishing this culture here. We had one bad season. Give us a mulligan. We're here. And that's pretty much what we've done for the rest of the season. I mean, to be honest with you, outside of, we won't even get into that, but outside of the Kansas and the OSU game, in the OSU games or whatnot, and a couple of just lapses on defense, just to be honest. I mean, you went out there and you did that. I mean, really honestly, if there was a checklist, if they gave you a checklist right now and they put 10 things on there, you probably checked off at least 7 of those things with going Yeah, I mean they checked off.
I don't know what your checklist is, but I would say that they checked off everything that we asked them to check off before the season. That's the whole point. Is when we talked about this at the end of the season last year, we're talking about 6 and 7 very easily could have been 10 wins a year ago if it wasn't for a few plays here and there. You know, a few plays here and there, and at least that many games. You know, you don't lose Dillon Gabriel in the TCU game. That could have changed things. You know what I mean? In the end, look. You got to look at this in what it really, really was. And this was a incomplete team that was already not good when Lincoln left it. And then he left it in worse shape than when he was there. He didn't stay for a reason. He knew that he was not going to be able to hide behind all of that anymore. It only took him a year to prove that once he got to SC, but he didn't have 17 years worth of culture and built up recruiting credit behind him once he got to LA. But now, BV has come in there. It takes time. I'm still going to tell everybody that if they go in and get 9-3 or 10-2 or even 8-4 next year, that's a good first season in the SEC. You have to accept that because they have a much tougher schedule in the first year in the SEC than what Texas has. You know, bottom line, I mean, Texas is a part of that schedule, but you got Alabama, then you got LSU, Ole Miss, and freaking Auburn on the road. These are tough games. Mizzou's on that schedule. You know, this is
And if I may jump in, Jason, do not sleep on Auburn. Like,
look,
I fully expect y'all to win.
You're on the road at Auburn. Bottom line is you got to go in there in the second season second season of Hugh Freeze. They're going to be better. You know they are. And look at what they did. I mean, they showed out that what they can do at home against Georgia and Alabama. It took everything that both of them could do to get out of there with a win on the Plains. The bottom line is it's night and day better, and there is a reason to believe that they're going to be able to go out there and put a championship team together. But you have to build the foundation first, and it doesn't happen overnight. And all the doom and gloomer guys like Sooner Cowboys that constantly says, "Oh, we're just not there," we're not getting the guys we need. This is how it is. This is how it is. You're going to have to be there when it takes getting, whether it's through the portal or if you wait on the guys through your actual recruiting in high school. Look at the guys they're getting. You got David Stone, Nigel Smith, all these guys coming in, Jaden Jackson. Come on, man. 6 blue chip defensive line prospects coming in this class. Look at the guys in the 23 class and what they're going to be in year 2. It's getting better in Norman.
The expectations were met, and the expectations are going to continue to get met in Norman. I mean, this staff's not in the business of letting people down. It's just not. It's the thing is, and I think people are putting too much stock into one game. Like, this season is big for Texas because they haven't been to the playoffs. They haven't been in this situation in a long time. So it's a big deal for Texas. For Oklahoma, I hate to tell y'all, it ain't hurting our recruiting to not be in the playoffs. It's not.
No.
I think people
went
put
10
way
and 2.
too much stock into that. I promise you, the coaches being in these kids' living rooms right now while all the other coaches are busy, that makes a difference rather than them being in the playoffs.
I will say, I think that if recruits were looking for OU to be in the playoffs 1 year after a true rebuild, because you're not only rebuilding a culture, you're rebuilding a style, you're rebuilding schemes. I think you were looking for the wrong results, right? At the beginning of the season, whenever we were asking projections for Oklahoma, I said 9-3, 10-2. I saw either one of those. And Jason, I think you and I were having the conversation, and you asked me, well, who do you think could be that third loss? And in fairness, I couldn't give it to you. I was like, I have no idea. I just know that y'all are in the middle of a rebuild, and I think that would be a beautiful turnaround. You did one better, 10-2.
Exact record that I gave too, 9-3, 10-2.
Yeah, and I think that's on pace, right? Like, so PG and I were talking a while ago, and he was asking me kind of like what I was thinking about different parts of OU. And I was like, I still think there's work to be done. Like, defensively, I still think there's a lot of work to be done. And I was like, but the reason why, like, you never hear me say it, because I still think at worst you're on schedule, but I think you're ahead of schedule in a lot of areas of this rebuild. And even in the areas where I'm looking, you're on schedule. You can't say anything about that, right? Like, you're seeing improvement. That's all you can ask. I understand the logic you're saying, PG, and I don't disagree. It is good to get a leg up. Now, that being said, it also doesn't hurt to have those playoff games, but I do understand what you're saying. And Oklahoma and Brent Venables, we know that this is a guy that's been highly effective on the trail. Jantz, Brinsky, Chris, I'm going to pass it to y'all, and then Jason, y'all get the final words, and we're going to get on out of here this evening.
One final word?
Oh, just on that right there, on PG's take, and then we'll go around and do our dismissal.
Oh, well, no, I think for the most part, I mean, I've said this before, and I'll say this again, Oklahoma's going to be fine. I mean, you guys exceeded expectations. You went 9-3. For the most part, again, you got 10-2, had a couple of losses that were disappointing. Yes, you should have beat Kansas, and yes, you should have won against Oklahoma State. Oklahoma was a few plays here and there for potentially being undefeated going into the Big 12 championship game. And Skip, again, Skip Bailey is a huge Oklahoma fan, but I had to agree with Skip. Like, that Oklahoma matches up well with Texas. They do. That's one of the few schools that can do it because they have an offensive playing style that can match up with them. They have the size and they have the speed and the finesse in order for them to cause problems. Oklahoma was one of the few teams that I think completely outcoached their entire team. We got to give a lot of credit to that aspect. And you got to think about this. Their classes are not even in full effect yet, right? They had a lot of young guys playing it today, but their classes, like I said, last year's class, now you look at this year's class, I mean, you're talking about pound for pound, right? We've seen Oklahoma have top 5 and top 4 classes before, but they didn't really get the right guys to fit the system. Like, perfect example, building up the trenches. That's one thing that I knew when Brent Venables got hired, one of the things that I kept talking about when I was on the show was that he's building the trenches. That's one of the first things he's going to do. That's exactly how he did it with Clemson as far as going on the recruiting trail with Dabo. And what were they known for? Building great defensive lines, having all-American tackles, which are now all-pro, players except for Farrell in the NFL. But it's they're on track. They're on the right pace. And who knows? Like I said, the first year, it may not be good. The first year may be 7-5 or 8-4 for their standards. But would I be shocked if Oklahoma goes on a magical run and they go 10-2 or 11-1 and playing for an SEC championship? No. I wouldn't be surprised if Texas does it. I wouldn't be surprised if Texas does it. Why? Because Missouri and A&M, their first year in the SEC, again, Missouri had a bad year the first year, but the following year they had 11-12 wins. A&M had 11 wins in their first year. They went 10-2 in the SEC. So I think Oklahoma right now, I think they're built for it. I don't think the SEC is going to get stronger, but it's not going to get that stronger. Really, I think Oklahoma came at the perfect time because I don't know. Missouri is on their way up. Ole Miss, there's only so much you can do if you're Ole Miss, exactly. As far as because they keep losing these major recruiting battles, and they're not getting the NIL. Lane Kiffin's begging them to give me as much support as possible. That's why Mark Stoops left Kentucky. Didn't get, or that's why he wants to leave Kentucky. He's not getting the proper help in order for him to potentially get these big time recruits and get these big time players. So at some point, Oklahoma and Texas both are going to triumph over the Missouris, over the Ole Misses, and the rest of these smaller schools because you're really starting to see that into effect. And, like I said, I wouldn't be surprised next year if both teams end up doing well.
I expect them to make it. Listen, it's Oklahoma and Texas. They're two of the biggest brands in college football. Whenever we talk about Steve Sarkisian in Texas, Jance, to your point, the way Oklahoma has been recruiting, that's one of the things I said about Sark is, yes, Texas has always recruited well, but there's a difference in recruiting well and then looking at a recruiting class and saying, man, top to bottom, this is a really good class. I think both schools have done that. That's going to carry you in the SEC. Brinsky, thoughts?
I just want to troll Jason just a little bit. When you guys go to Auburn, I truly believe you guys are going to get upset, man. Just because y'all don't believe, just because of all people.
Yeah, you're saying this against Jason in particular.
Just him. Literally him. He doesn't believe. He just doesn't believe in the voodoo. Don't believe in that rabbit foot that they have down there. I just can't wait to see. I just can't wait to see y'all.
The reason I'm saying I don't want Oklahoma to pay any attention to that stuff. Just go handle your business.
That's cool. That's beautiful. And I pray. I wish it was still
because they're not rivals.
CBS.
They're not rivals with Auburn, though. You know what I mean. There's other teams. Hey, New Mexico State can go in there and beat them.
That is fair.
That's very fair.
I give you that.
That's very fair. Auburn plays their rivals really well, and Georgia and Auburn isn't. That's like one of the oldest rivalries.
It's literally called the oldest Southern rivalry.
Yeah, Auburn's going to get theirs in that game.
And the funny thing is
the only question is next year with Oklahoma having to go to Jordan-Hare and Death Valley and all these places is, especially Oxford. I think Oxford's going to be a hard place for Oklahoma to go play. Are they going to be a better road team next year? Because they were not a good road team this year. I don't care how you look at it. Even the games they won, they were not a good road team. And you can't be that same road team that they were this year next year.
I agree with this, Neo. I think Bama to Norm. It's just big games like that are good for your team. 100%.
Yeah.
What the fuck you mean? Help OU? No, I did not want to play Bama in late November. I wanted to play them.
Actually, it's a good time to do it right before the Iron Bowl, though.
Gosh, dang! I did
You're not
not
wrong. You're not wrong, Jason. Where it's slotted in, it's not
I
terrible.
agree with it.
Yeah, you're not wrong there. Gentlemen, we've been going for an hour and 10 minutes. I need to get us out of here because Jance is about to go on to another big show as we go around the table. Let everybody know where they can find all your great content. We're just going to go straight down. PG, Jason, Jance, Brinsky.
You guys know where to find me. I'm here all the time. The PG Show, YouTube, Apple, Google, Spotify. Mainly do a lot of Apple stuff. On YouTube. We'll be doing a lot of transfer portal content, recruiting content. So make sure you guys pull up.
Yep. Jason Watkins, Hall of Fame, college football with Jason and the coach. It's at CFB-pod right here on YouTube. Yeah, it's about to get busy around here. So check us out.
Jant Sports on YouTube, Jant716 on Twitter. And then, of course, you can catch me on Bama Insider on Monday with Coach Sean and Coach Schmook. So definitely catch us there.
Well, Brinsky Sharp of the Sharpshooters Pod catch us every Wednesday. We're grown. We just hit 200 subscribers. And Ashley got a DM from somebody major that Ashley said, keep going, man. I'm actually paying attention to your podcast. So that made me feel very, very good. That lets me know that we're doing something right.
That's awesome to hear, man.
Yeah. I don't want to spoil it yet. I wanted to post it so bad. It made me feel so good. I'm like, what?
That's awesome, man. Glad to hear it. Well, thank you everybody for tuning in. Go enjoy your evening. Go tune in to Bama Football on YouTube with Kyle Henderson in just a little bit to see Jant Smook and Coach Sean. They're going to get you covered with all your Alabama news. Until next time, we'll see y'all. That's it. And now you get to experience the spinning wheel of doom.